Why knowledge matters.
Were there any indications specifically in your childhood that made you pursue the path that you pursuing now?
You
Writing
know, it's
books and
interesting. It's interesting that you said, yeah, I never expected to be on this pathway. My childhood dream was to work in the film industry and to be either a screenwriter or a film director or film producer. And that's actually where I got my first master's degree from Syracuse University in film and television production management. And I did work in the film industry for my first 2 years of my career after I got my master's. And I did work for a big name producer. I actually worked on the Sony and Warner Brothers lot, but I walked away from it because I didn't like it. It was not a healthy experience. It was not the, as I like to say, the dream turned into the nightmare. So I decided to become a teacher because one, I enjoyed working with kids. I've always worked with kids. I was a camp counselor. And number two, I have a strong value in education. My father instilled that in me to have a strong value in education. So I became a teacher. And then I had the career all mapped out and I was following that pathway, classroom teacher, site administrator, was going to go work at a district office, probably a director of curriculum instruction, assistant superintendent, superintendent, teach college. Well, as things happen, you realize that's not exactly what you want. So I went in a different pathway and I started working a state education agency out here in Arizona where I live. And I learned about policy, I learned about finance, and I specialized in an area of policy and finance and planning called Title One here in the States. And then I became a consultant with that. And I always wanted to be a writer of some sort. I've written screenplays since I was a kid. I used to write comic books. I used to write novels when I was a kid. So when I started presenting at conferences, someone saw my session, and I actually had three publishers come up to me and say, "Would you like to write a book?" So I said, "Sure." I never thought I'd write a book on education, but yeah. So I wrote my first book with ASCD. Now that's a good question. And then, I pewtered off a little bit from writing because I was doing more work. But when the pandemic hit, that's where I started writing again. I wrote Deconstructing Depth of Knowledge, There was Solution Tree. My newest book, Inquiring Minds Wants to Learn, just came out from Solution Tree actually this week. And, I'm back on that writing track. So I think the biggest thing to realize is that this was not planned. This was not an option. This wasn't even in my mindset. It was something I discovered. It was a career that I kind of created. It's kind of interesting because now you see a lot of people wanting to venture into this profession. I can't tell you how many people, oh, I want to do what you do. I want to write books. I want to, go and do presentations. I want to be an education consultant. But why do you want to do it? Because you really got to understand your why for why you do how you do what you do. And it's not about the money, it's not about the travel, and it's not about you. It's about what are you doing, to basically give back to education as a system and as stakeholders. That's where you'll be most successful as an education author and presenter. And those I know who even do this, those are the ones who are most successful, the ones who give back to the community and give back to the system and give back to the stakeholders. That's what makes them really successful. So if you want to do this, don't look at this as a goal and don't look at this as an escape or a solution. It's an option, but really understand why you want to do this. I think that's the big thing about being an education author.
that's why knowledge matters. Make your life a masterpiece. Visit now programs.d-ykm.com.